Rotted Reviews, and today I'm getting back to making reviews. This week has been a little bit sparse, and I apologize for that. But I have been watching some movies, and I have been wanting to talk about them. I've watched Psycho Goreman, I've watched Bloody Hell, and I am going to talk about them because I got some thoughts. However, something unique kind of happened to me yesterday. It was a long day. I've been really busy this week in other ventures besides the channel here, and yesterday was a particularly long day. I just wanted to unwind. I just wanted to watch a movie. So I kicked on Shudder and just started flipping through, and I came across The Wolf House. And the description seemed, I don't know, it grabbed my interest well enough. The poster looked a little odd, but the description was an animated Chilean storyline of a woman that is trying to escape religious fanatics. Okay, fine. Kick it on. And when I got done watching it, I was so blindsided by this movie that I knew that everything else that I had been doing had to get pushed to the side. And this needed to take the forefront. I knew that this would be the movie that I needed to talk about first. Written and directed by Joaquin Cosina and Cristobal Leon, this is a movie that the simplicity of the description really belies the actual complexity of the movie itself. When it says that it's animated, that really does this film a disservice because, well, it's not an inaccurate statement, but it really only tells half the picture. The animation style of this is stop motion, but instead of having little claymation figures, which is fine, this actually takes an entire studio space and in one-to-one scale completely transforms it using paint and paper mache and just a variety of mediums to completely transform an entire room. Likewise, the story is, well, a little bit, well, not inaccurate, but only tells part of it. This is a somewhat demented kind of fairy tale of a woman that seeks refuge in this house. And in this house, there are two little pigs, and she's trying to escape from a wolf. Already seems a little bit familiar, but not in any way, shape, or form does this flesh out in any familiar fashion. You see, the interior of the house starts transforming along with her emotions and her personality. The pigs transform into little children that she must care for, and then that turns into a volatile situation in its own right. The whole thing is a very complex tapestry of visual experiences. This is not a movie that is very narrative heavy. It's not going to have long moments of exposition where it's telling you what's happening. Rather, just the visual style of it is something that you just kind of experience. And I already know that I have several friends that would hear that description and run out of the room screaming, so I am not going to pretend that this is a movie for everyone, because it's just not. But it's so unique and so interesting, and it really captured me to such a degree that I really just needed to talk about it first, and that's what I'm doing here. I'll be honest, there were several moments in which I really kind of had to take my own pulse as I was watching this film and kind of evaluate whether or not I was enjoying myself. I knew I was watching something interesting. I knew I was watching something unique, but I was also watching something that really bordered on that line of pretentious. And I gotta say that the heart of the storytelling is what prevented it from crossing that line, at least for me. But at the same time, I can also see how in other people, where they set their line, it would easily cross over it. So this is the kind of thing that's making me apprehensive about doing a blanket full recommendation for this movie. Now, I am not the biggest art aficionado in the world. However, I am very used to studio spaces and artist spaces and so on. There's a very distinct look, a very distinct smell about them. One thing I really like is watching these spaces transform in the way that they did and the choices that the movie made in keeping the blemishes alive. You see, as a wall is being transformed in various layers of paint going over itself, so too do the blotches of paint start showing up on the floor. And as that happens, the movie really makes no effort to hide it. Likewise, when a three-dimensional model is there, say of a one-to-one scale paper mache of a person, and the hand is extending out, it has cellophane tape supporting the hand from here to the wall or to the ceiling, and it doesn't even try to hide it. Yes, it chooses cellophane tape as opposed to duct tape, but for the most part, it really doesn't try to even pretend that the strings aren't there. It knows what it's about, and it's a remarkable feat in its own right. I wasn't the least bit shocked when I read the trivia on it after the fact, and I found that it took 5 years to make. With the stop motion and the level of detail that went into this, didn't surprise me in the least. I can't see any other way to do this film other than painstaking, time-consuming love. And that is what prevented me from crossing over that line into pretentious pushback, at the very least. Let's just put it that way. Likewise, although this movie doesn't really harp on it, it did open my eyes to something that I looked up after the fact and did some research on, and inspired me at the very least to make myself aware of something in Chilean history that I had no idea existed, which was the Colonia Dignidad. And that was something that really opened my eyes in terms of the Chilean and German people in this colony undergoing this history together and the brutal regime and slaughter that happened from there. It's something that's interesting and you should look up, but at the same time, I think this movie actually does a good service in terms of bringing that history to life in a very odd, particular kind of way. So is this the most fun, fantastical Friday night flick you'll ever find in your life? No, not in the slightest. However, it is completely unlike anything I've ever seen before, and how often do I get to stand here and say that? Just the unique qualities to this film, as well as how it wound up grabbing me by the heartstrings, moved out of its own way, and in spite of some of the pretentiousness that I do admit it did have, still managed to make it something that I had to talk about, and I do have to recommend to at least the folks that are willing to open themselves up to something that is very creative and very original. So that should about do it. Thank you so much for watching this review. I really hope you get something out of it, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember, next time you want to watch a horror movie, first make sure that it's good and rotted.